they decided to just kind of kite it back. Everyone's super low health and say, Caps, I mean, get that turret as fast as you can because things are going to hell down here on the bottom side of the map. It is a dragon that goes over to BLG. I think the thought process behind this, though, utilizing the fact that, as you pointed out very wisely, it's an ocean soul. This dragon itself isn't that valuable, but an inner turret and all the scaling damage that's going to come with this Azir that's now massively ahead is definitely the right idea, I think, with this. Got a little bit dicey for a moment there, but I still favor G2's position as the dust settles here.
Yeah, and I think that I was doing the play-by-play thing where I'm like looking at what's on the screen, and that didn't look good for G2, but I wasn't factoring in that they were out of a pigeon.
And look at how much time they could buy. I mean, they've just shown it in so many of these fights and skirmishes, right? It's a Jax that's got Counter-Strike. You have the ult here to come through. Yes, Gwen is immune and not going to kill her, but they pull everyone off the dragon. That's the first turret that goes down. And then BLG are like, all right, I'd love to group over here and start taking this dragon. Broken Blade's like, I'm going to push on. Knight's ultimate here is used defensively, so it's hard to now punish. Great block comes through. They push on to Skumon. He has to sacrifice himself here. It's not ideal, but they know that every second they can buy here, the turret goes down topside, right? Caps is getting value. It's tough, like I said, for him to TP in. Skumon's not happy with dying there. I think he wanted to buy time and then get out, and Caps gets the turret. But at the end of the day, this Azir is a menace, right? This Azir is huge.
And you can see that 0 on the damage graph. That's not because he was there and not doing anything. It's because he wasn't there, and he was doing stuff in the top lane. As the Otacon, now a consideration here for G2. I feel like Otacon, like, teams learned that this is like a thing that we should probably not throw our lives away for, but in this tournament, we are throwing our lives away for it again, as instead, this time around, it is BB just trying to destroy everyone that walks towards him. Oh my goodness, that was not the magical journey that On was looking for. And Hansama with the On the Hunt is now just going to back his way out. The rest of the team just going to be moving real quick if they'd like to. There's a lot of fog of war here that BLG has to deal with. There's the flash forward. Headbutt to get Beishuan out of the way, and the Crescent Guard is not guarding against enough. Caps down incredibly low. A beautiful Pulverize has now been trying to snip, and dash his way out, and he will be able to stay alive, but they're not going to be anywhere on this map for when G2 wants to take anything they would like.
Yeah, G2 very low. I don't think they'll necessarily want to commit to this Otacon, but with everyone else having to back away, TP showing topside here for Caps as well. They can just say, all right, well, you guys don't have a lot of vision here. Let's put Caps in the top lane, and you guys will have to kind of clear this up as this Azir is pushing topside. A lot went wrong there for BLG, though, in that scrappy fight. Like, On tries to solo ult a Sivir, who has Spell Shield, and Hansama just eats it and says, okay, cool, and they continue to push. And it's a very scrappy fight, using the pressure of this Otacon to pull BLG into a really uncomfortable position. And you can see they're like, okay, not on Otacon, but we don't have any vision. Then Broken Blade shows himself here. And this is a really uncomfortable position for BLG because their Silas isn't here, right? And this is the timing to go in.
And Beishuan, like, going in onto a Jax, like, Counter-Strike is the best thing for dealing with a Xin Zhao, and then On, you blink and you miss it.
If On ults the rest of G2 are chasing there, I think it buys enough time for them to actually potentially look for a turn in a fight, but he just tosses it into a Spell Shield instead. That's a big tool gone. And then the follow-up here, once Cap shows up, is like, it's a Sivir, it's a Fed Azir. You just cannot win that longer fight, despite some of these low health bars here. And Broken Blade is such a menace in this game.
He is a monster on this Jax. And he's very willing to put himself in harm's way as well. As you can see, 5.5k damage. I mean, BB is this whole team right now. He is absolutely monstrous. And we'll be able to sit in side lanes, make stuff happen. You can see moving down towards this bottom side, and the Otacon is still in the eyes of G2 right now. 4,000 gold, the lead, and plus that, like, it's like 4.5k. It is a big deal. As you can see, BB has done the most damage in the game right now, and that is when Hansama is like 3-1-6 at this point as well. It's a very big Sivir, but not quite as big as this massive Jax in the top lane. You got some items coming in for Caps as well, who, as you can see, is 50 CS in the lead because he's just been side laning relentlessly in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the massive leads that are starting to stack up here make it really difficult, and it feels like for BLG, you're kind of on this timer, and it feels like the hourglass has already run out of sand. You really need a big combo here. You need a cool flank angle or an overextension, and you know, is kind of the story that we laid out at the very beginning of this draft is that top lane volatile matchup. Who gets the lead? Who pulls them around the map? But this side laning Caps threat, I think, was something that maybe BLG wasn't necessarily as prepared to deal with. And going to see an attempted steal here. It's very early, unfortunately, for Elk, though. And this is going to be the second dragon of the game here for G2. Again, not a consequential dragon by any means, but they have so much map control, and these side laners just go straight back to it.
Yep. Cap's going to get down towards the bottom lane this time. There is an inner turret still there, so we might be able to get some value if he is given any space. But this is exactly where both of these teams want to be. The Otacon is going to be the next thing they're fighting for.
Vision control here is pretty good for G2. Luckily, though, for BLG, they have that one ward behind it, so they're not going to fall for any traps or anything like that. But that pressure is real. Once that ward gets cleared, G2 can kind of start this at any moment. Feel super good about their ability to rush it down with this pretty large Azir and Sivir, who has 3 items and an IE. Yeah, and this is where things get desperate for BLG with very limited vision.
There's also full AP Maokai as well. And so he does a lot of damage. You saw that, like, one sapling hits on and he loses a third of his health bar.
Yeah, the Bloodletters Maokai is a bit of a new one for me. This one's a little bit less common over our region.
Yeah, us in LCK, we sometimes see the Leandries and then into tank.
And Chronicler gets mad.
Chronicler does get mad. He doesn't quite like that. He's like, no, you're a tank, be a tank.
But in some of these scenarios, I mean, we saw the sapling kill earlier. It's pretty huge.
I like Maokai, man. I'm into it.
It helps you rush down an Otacon. And I mean, the lack of vision here, there's nothing that BLG could do. And unfortunately for them, with control vision on the Baron, they can't even try to like cross map Baron. They can't deal with the Broken Blade side laning in the top side of the map. They just kind of have to sit back and lose a critical objective. There is no winning play here. And I think BLG are realizing, hey, if we make the Hail Mary here and fail, the game is just straight up over. So let's look for something else.
Yep, and maybe, just maybe, there's no beating G2 5 times in a row.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay.
We had someone to tell us a little secret.
Yeah, he may have broken his arm guard.
Yeah.
He didn't buy it from Boris, and it was pre-broken. Sometimes, you know, you pull it out of the box, and unfortunately something happened in transit. So we can just say, we make up a story and say, like, yeah, he just got a faulty one.
He's known to collect broken blades, not usually the arm guards, though.
Man, it's like thematically right.
Yeah.
He was just giving BLG a chance.
But I mean,
he was just a little bit too strong.
It's a huge loss. Like, it's a very expensive item that is about its active more than it is about its stats.
Matter.
Yeah, exactly. But guess what? I was going to say, he's got a ton of money, and he's going to have his Zhonya's and not care, and that's already happened. Maybe he just did it as a flex.
Well, maybe he was trying to see whether his arm guard flexes, and it doesn't. It just shattered.
No, so it's not as flexible as he originally thought.
Why would something that goes around your arm then turn into a timepiece?
Well, you would think after he tried to bend the blade last time, he would have learned. Let's look at this map control here for G2. They have so much vision control around this Baron threat. There's a control ward in the pit. TP flank is going to be a desperation move here for BLG. Knight on the flank.
He does find the angle, though, as now you can see Broken Blade in a lot of trouble. The flash over from Bin as they are getting into the Thunderdome. The Zhonya's is going to be utilized really nicely, and the Empress Divide as well as On just flashes into point-blank range of Caps, and Hansama just cuts him apart. The Baron is going to deal with Bin. Cue the yakety sax, ladies and gentlemen, as BLG just fall apart at the seams, and G2 say, all right, I guess we'll take this purple worm.
Yeah, it looks like G2 are going to rewrite what happened at MSI and at least strike back here in this second game. We're going the distance tonight. It feels like as Bejuan looks for a desperation steal, but he's zoned away, and he is going to die as well for his crime.
Yep, there is the Baron secured. They'll take Bejuan as well as the Boomerang Blade comes on through. Labrov with his Pulverize, gonna hold him in place.
I just can't see any way for a comeback to happen now for the side of BLG. TP here for Broken Blade into the side as Elk might just straight up be dead.
The flash forward into a Cosmic Binding, and then Caps dies.
Sorry, I meant to say Caps just might straight up be dead.
It's fine.
It's okay. Broken Blade is gonna two-shot the turret. Until On says, I'm going to ult that, so no, never mind.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things that were just taken away from us there in that last couple of moments.
That was kind of like, I was rushing the call a little bit, you know, but I thought both of those things were going to happen.
Well, at least, you know, BB does the wraparound, not going to be able to kill On, so the disasters don't continue too much. We are going to see things kind of slow down momentarily. Dragon going to be up in 5 seconds' time. It is Soul Point here for G2. And Finn is just going to get dove on by this big old Jax. The needlework not going to really be doing anything at all. As he parks himself back in this lane once again. You got a tree and Xena taking down this Dragon. And now Broken Blade moving on over to try and get this last auto attack. There it is, On moving in as well to try and protect Finn. But they are just bleeding objectives all over the place as BLG.
I mean, Caps is a death cap. He's almost got his Void Staff. He's just heading straight back to mid lane. Broken Blade walks at 4 people and says, what are you going to do? As the rest of G2 continue to clear these waves, now mid lane's getting pushed through. And G2, it feels like at this point, could do no wrong, just sieging up. An incredible wave clear with Hansama on this server. They've got Caps set up to even potentially put up a Sun Disc turret here for safety. And it's just a matter of time before this base gets broken open.
Yeah, Labrov on a great flank angle, but there is a magical journey to try and catch him out. He does have an unbreakable will, but he decides he's just not going to use it. May have needed to almost, as Elk with another couple of Mystic shots would have killed him, but they didn't quite have that, as there's the Tempered Fate. It is only on to Caps, as now they all get in. The Emperor's Divide is going to stop it, and the Boomerang Blade is going to be the finishing blow onto On. They take down Caps once again, but Knight into this backline and has nowhere to get out, as now BB and Bin continuing their battle, and Elk trying to hold on to this turret, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so. And G2 will break the base here in Game 2 and look to bring us to a third game once again here in our first day of knockouts at the EWC.
And this is just a dominant performance here from G2. Had some pretty big leads in Game 1, but this was something different. This is very different from the look we saw from this team at MSI just a week ago. And they're bringing us to 3, the full distance here. And the Maokai first pick absolutely worked out. And I think eyes bigger than their stomach for so many of those fights for BLG where they had a man advantage, but underestimated how much time the Alistar ultimate, the Maokai ultimate could buy for a rotation over. Caps side laning, just constantly putting the pressure on those turrets, building up such a big lead. And Broken Blade, they played through him. The G2 fans praying and hoping here to win this third game after what was such a tragic loss in Game 1.
Yeah, BLG gonna have to get back on the horse after that one. It is going to be tough because this was G2's game from the very beginning. You can see every single number is going to be in the lead, and the fact that Broken Blade just obliterated Bin in that top lane matchup, that is going to be the biggest deal moving into game number 3. And remember, guys, it was four losses in a row in the last couple of weeks, right? And G2 going to buck that trend and look to see whether they can take another one.
A big win here for G2. A lot of relief, you have to imagine, after that one. Taking a look at some of these damage numbers here. Caps and Hansama doing a ton. Broken Blade, though, matching an Azir in a 32.5-minute game just really tells the story of how much impact this Jax had.
Yep, exactly right. But there is still one more game to go. An even series here in our last one of the day, as we are going to take a short break. When we get back, that last game.
If I could remove one champion from league, it would be Timo.
Zoe. Every time I invade into this champion, Vavel comes, I die strong. Zoe.
之前的话，我觉得像三所英雄应该是萨米拉吧，因为我觉得他有点做坏了的那种感觉。然后我觉得这版本的话，我觉得都做得蛮平衡的，就没有想特别三所英雄。
If I could remove one champion, I'd probably remove Yumi. I actually really liked it when I played AD carry, so she's fun to play with, I think. But I think playing against it is not always that fun.
I would snipe Yumi on the spot, no mercy. I absolutely love playing with Yumi. It's fantastic. Gives me warm and fuzzy feelings inside when I get the buffs. But by God, when I have to kill something that has that cat on it, I hate my life.
Yumi. Tại vì Yumi là một vị tướng mà có lối chơi rất là lạ, nên là cũng chỉ theo phong trào thôi. Tại vì mình thấy rất là nhiều người muốn remove Yumi, là mình cũng tương tự.
I don't wanna say Yumi. That's what everyone says. I'm not sure. I have to go with Yumi. It's just unfun, unskilled. Like she just does nothing.
如果我要删掉一个英雄的话，我选择 Briar 吧，因为我都还没玩过的英雄。
Probably be Sona, because just in solo queue I get so many Sona supports, especially in NA and EU. I feel like in the West they like playing it a lot and it doesn't really do anything, so probably Sona.
I would remove Sona from the game, so it's not on my team anymore. No one wants my pick Sona on their team. The chance you get piked or blitzcranked is too high.
탈리아로 하겠습니다. 왜냐면은 항상 대회 자주 나오는데 탑 챔피언 상대로 거의 좋아가지고 좀 까다로운 것 같습니다.
Would be King, especially Blue King, because it ruins your solo queue. The guy just picks King, doesn't even know how to play jungle, like farms everyone around the map, just keep flying. I hate this champ.
카밀이란 챔피언을 삭제하고 싶습니다. 왜냐면 원딜 입장에서는 좀 불합리한 스킬셋을 가지고 있다 생각해서
删除他排这种影响吧，因为觉得大招是全部的一招帮灭死，就玩的比较累一点。
I would remove Garen. He has no mana, he has infinite HP with his regen, so he doesn't really have to recall that often. He has so much tenacity and damage resist built into his kit. He's not fun to play with, and he's not fun to play against, because his kit's just a little too linear, so I don't like the design.
딱히 뭐 삭제시키고 싶은 챔피언은 없습니다.
And G2 battle back. They give something for the fans to cheer about in the stadium. They got loud, and rightfully so. Europe one win away from making it back to the semifinals of an international event. And you can see how much it means to them inside the STC arena. It was rocking. 1-1 is your score. Thank you. All right, 1-1 is your score. And we've got one more game left. Great that we went all 8 possible games and one more to decide the semifinals. Degon here alongside Medios and Finn. And just like that, which one were you, Finn? You were all of those emotions.
I was all of them, man. I'm so happy. Like BB is smurfing. I feel like, honestly, if you asked me which team has played better today, I would say it's G2, honestly. I feel like both game 1 and game 2, they kind of had like control for the majority of the game, and in general they've made smarter map moves. They're been getting called less, and their team fights have been more solid.
It feels like G2 versus Knight right now. I think Knight is the only person showing up for BLG right now, and even game 1, his Orianna steal with just QW on Baron is pretty much the entire reason why they were in it. So I definitely feel for him. It's been really tough. Yeah, BLG in game 2 was very surprising to me. Oh, maybe not, because they are really inconsistent. But anywhere from their draft prep, I think it was really strange to give Scuman Maokai. Like we were saying beforehand, you know, what does G2 want? They want Maokai, they want Azir, and they got him. And it's one thing if you give them, because, you know, you got to give them something, but they banned out, I think, Pantheon and Vi to give Maokai. It's like they probably would have taken Maokai even if those other champs were open, so why did you ban them? You could have done better bans. So that was really shocking to me. I think the bot lane as well for G2 is performing way better. It definitely had an off game. Oh, no, absolutely, this Bard was a little bit reportable. So, yeah, feel bad for Knight on this one, honestly.
Yeah, Knight putting in a shift there, doing what he could. I feel like maybe the Silas had to be one of the ideas as well, just to be like, okay, if they take Azir, we'll take Silas. If they take Silas, we'll take Azir. But definitely a lot for him to hijack. What did you think of this draft here, Finn?
I mean, it makes kind of sense on paper because you obviously, I mean, in LPL, they don't really care about Maokai as much as we love it in Europe. Like in Europe, Maokai is pick and ban. You should ban on red side every single game. This is our main jungle, and this is what is being traded back and forth. But meanwhile in LPL, they really lean towards the skirmish-heavy jungler, and of course, the Gwen. So I think BLG, they were like, okay, we give them Maokai, which we don't really value highly, and we get Gwen and Xin Zhao, and we get Knight with a really good Silas game. I think they were super happy with this draft, but I feel like maybe they didn't have the correct read, or maybe Europe is better meta read, I don't know, but in general, I really felt like it ended up being very favorable for G2 because they got everything they wanted.
All right, let's take a look at our first highlight here, because when Bin made it onto the international stage, he was known as one of the best Jaxes in the world. But let's not forget Broken Blade, where he's able to turn it around and remind him, I was pretty good at that jab too.
Yeah, I mean, this is the issue. When you have a prior pick in your mind, which is the Gwen, and it gets countered, nullified, solo killed, and gets completely put down like this, that is an issue. I felt like Bin had no presence this game at all, and Broken Blade was just everywhere in every fight, jumping in, diving, doing so much for G2, and really spearheading this victory.
Yeah, absolutely amazing game from Broken Blade. Definitely silencing the haters and doubters, because this is one of the highest skill matchups there is in top lane right now. Jax versus Gwen, we see it all the time, and it's not something you can, just kind of play passively through. You have to be constantly fighting, and every trade can be the difference between winning and losing the lane. And you saw there, he got the solo kill on the Gwen, which is massive, and he just, was able to run away with the game.
Yeah, and he did it with that step back on the last couple of snips. So just an understanding of what was going on there, and a very needed outplay for G2 and Broken Blade. As we take a look at our second highlight here in the mid lane with the Azir hitting away at the tier 2.
Yeah, this is kind of what I want to highlight as well when I said that G2 is actually playing the map way smarter. Caps has gotten the tier 1 already, and they are the one engaging this fight. Kind of like daring BLG to commit to this team fight. On the falls in the beginning of the fight, and now it's just like this dance. G2 is like showing that they kind of want to fight, but they kind of just want to get out. Meanwhile, Caps is getting so much gold on the top side and gets so accelerated. I think he shows up with like a 1.5k gold lead after that, or a 1.5k gold influx at least after that play.
Yeah, a great matador of the aggression against BLG, knowing that BLG is decisive. They like to fight. This is the G2 that so many people have gotten used to and wanted to see. And then finally, over by Baron, it was the decisive fight here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Broken Blade is getting caught almost. He has to jump over into the pit. Bin flashes to try to chase him, but he has the Sonias, and he buys so much time and allows all his team to come and help. He has the Thunder Sky procs and then goes out the other way. And now BLG committed so deep to try to kill him that they're kind of left standing here completely clueless of what's going on, and it's just an easy cleanup for G2 with that gold lead that they had accumulated from previous plays.
I like Lebrov just keeping Bin in the Baron pit and letting him get killed by Baron. That's a rough way to go.
Yeah, Alistair and Baron on against him right there. Also, great wall by Caps to block off the rest of the team from going in, so it turned into a de facto 2v4 for the rest of that one. G2 with that victory, that gets them one more notch on up head-to-head against BLG. We touched on it earlier, one of the big talking points. These two teams seem to constantly find each other in international events. It was like the groan heard round the world when they got drawn against each other, as it was 2-1. And every single time it has gone the way of BLG, but G2 now on the cusp of flipping it on their head.
I think this is looking real good for G2. Like we mentioned, in the first 8 games, they've been outperforming, I would say, on average, even though they dropped game 1. I think it's looking really good for G2, and I think BLG is really going to have to figure out something going into this final game, because to me, the jungle and bot lane for G2 have been performing much better. I think that on game one, putting Beishuan on something like Nocturne was a really good idea because he's able to just have so much pressure from his ulti alone. But when he was on the Xin Zhao, I didn't really feel any pressure from him, especially like one thing to me that stood out a lot was that BLG went for the normal invade bot side on red. You split the map and then you can pressure the dive on bot lane, but they didn't really execute it that well. They weren't able to deny any XP from the bot lane. They were able to get level 2, and then Xin Zhao used his smite, so he wasn't even able to secure Krugs and get level 3. So G2 just handled that pressure really well and didn't fall behind at all, which in most cases that can be a super terrible early game if you're bot. So I think, you know, maybe some misexecution by BLG, but also a good response by G2.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of similar to what Whippo was talking about with Inspired when they plan up to a certain point and then handled the pressure and then allowed their playmakers to make a play. Finn, 1 more minute left. Final thoughts before we go to this decisive game number 3.
My mind's just like last game. It's like I'm thinking about draft, right? Because I feel like G2 is kind of, they have shows on, they are on red side, right? Because BLG shows blue side, and they have so many bans that are locked. I'm thinking you're probably banning the Pantheon, you're probably banning the Varus, and I think they might ban Aurora as well. And I feel like that gives BLG kind of a big avenue to work within, because there's so many champions that almost are guaranteed to be taken out that they can kind of do whatever they want and kind of find any kind of advantage in drafts.
Medios, do they get over the hump?
I'm gonna say G2 for this one. I don't know. I don't think BLG is playing that great, and I think G2 is playing really well. So, yeah, I think they're gonna take it.
We saw the graphic on the screen earlier. The last 4 meetings have gone the way of BLG. G2 looked better in game 1, did not close it out. They were dominant in game 2. Will they be able to do it for all of EU? Let's find out. Game 3 as we send it to the...
Thank you very much, gentlemen. You can understand why Finn was absolutely elated. G2 finally picking up a victory against BLG here in 2025. Has been struggling to put on his headset just a little bit here, but also struggled a little bit towards the top side of the map, up against Broken Blade.
Yeah, there were a lot of resources given to get that Jax ahead. He ran away with the lead. They had triple grubs. The side lane pressure with the Azir, who also had triple grubs, was just immaculate. It was just a good macro game from G2, but now they're not going to have that blue side. This time, BLG will have side selection. We'll see how that impacts this draft.
Yep.
And what Broken Blade gets his hands on here for game 3.
Exactly right. I'm also going to be glued to what Scumon's going to be able to play as well, because the Maokai looked great in game number 2, and we know that is an EU favorite. Not necessarily something that we in the East put as much priority on. And so we'll see whether Big Way and Easy Hoon are going to have a little bit of surprise in the jungle maybe to get Beishuan that advantage here in game number 2. Because I 100% agree with Finn. I think that Knight has had and with Meteos as well, that Knight has had a good day today. And the rest of the team have been there as well. We need them to show up a little bit more.
For me, I'm most concerned with On's performance. We've just really seen some
off.
Big misses. Yeah, some off.
Yeah.
Some weirdly timed ults, some positional errors. And this is partially why we've seen Han Sama generate big leads in lane as well, consistently.
Yep.
Is they're winning the 2v2, and then outside of lane, On just hasn't been making the same impacts that Labrov has made. 2 supports who were heavily criticized for their MSI performances, to be frank, but it feels like Labrov is really winning out today in this really important knockout match here at EWC 2025. So let's see what happens as we move into game 3.
All right. And so now we'll just have to see what is going to happen here as we move into the 3rd game. And we'll do our very best to get there as soon as possible.
That's right, as everyone's just setting up for what is the final game of the day here on this Thursday evening in Riyadh. The sun has set. There are tons of fans outside around the boulevard watching multiple esports here that are going on at what is a celebration of esports across multiple titles here. And we have 2 of the most legendary orgs to ever touch League of Legends. G2, the kings of Europe, the most successful team, and BLG arguably in the latter half and postmodern LPL, the most consistent org to appear in international events.
Not to mention one of the biggest brands as well. So very, very important stuff. And of course, G2 with many teams across a lot of different games as well. I'm not entirely sure how the club rankings look right now. You'd have to expect that they're feeling pretty good about picking up some titles in a lot of them. We have to remember as well that the club championship, you need to come first in at least one of those games.
That's right.
If you are going to be the champion here at EWC. So you're gonna have to find one of those avenues in. We'll see whether it is gonna be BLG or G2, or whether one of these teams, well, which one of these teams is going to be going home at
one of
the
these
end
teams
of the day.
taking that one further step forward to semifinals. Puts them one series away from potentially making that grand finals and taking it all. There is so much on the line in terms of prize money. Every single step up you can take. Winning this third game is a massive jump in prize money. So it's tense. And, you know, heading into a game like this, trying to keep your head in the game, trying to really stay focused as we have some technical issues being resolved here before we head into this draft is going to be paramount. And BLG having pick priority on blue side, I'm really curious to see if the red side bans will change a little bit here for G2. Do they feel like they can give Bejuan over the Vi? Do they have an answer to that? Do they think they can give the Pantheon over? Do they have some sort of response to that? Or we just see both of them once again taken away. The Varus, another question mark that's been banned consistently in games 1 and 2. Will we see that in the hands of either Elk or Hansama? I imagine the answers to these questions are all no. I think they will continue to be banned.
Yeah, I actually think that the Pantheon and the Vi are going to be so much higher priority, right? Like, we already heard Finn say, like, why are you banning them if the Maokai is up? Well, yeah, the Maokai isn't up anymore, so they're going to require those to be taken away. And I think that we are getting closer and closer to the final draft of the day, and possibly the final draft for BLG or for G2. We are going to be getting our players in and getting things underway.
It's so tense here, and you're going to really feel it. You could see it on the players' faces. It's a massive G2 crowd here that have traveled all the way to Riyadh to support this roster that had such a rough time at MSI, a hardship against this very team.
Yeah.
Now trying to get that revenge and be the ones to conquer, the ones to walk away. Or will we see BLG do it again, albeit a little bit less dominantly than what we saw at MSI, but to take it twice and to advance forward here. It's time for the draft.
Yep, here we go. We are finally in there. And the Galio, Annie, and the Wukong all taken away here by BLG. Definitely a big change-up.
Yeah, and Poppy Varus, meaning that one of the Vi or the Pantheon, or potentially both, I think likely both, will make it through the draft here so that you can get one or the other. They pick one, you get the second, and on red side, we'll get to go something with it. Instead, however, they actually will ban the Pantheon and leave open that Vi here to BLG.
I think this is really, really scary because Knight is pretty good at
Ari. That's still open?
Yeah.
And they banned the Annie. But is there a way? Like, I just don't feel like there's necessarily a jungle that you feel like with this game 3, with all the jungle bans we already have, the Xin Zhao is gone. That you could pick away the Ari here. You know, I don't think you're going for an Ari Viego lock away.
Ari Lee Sin? And then flex Lee Sin to top lane and play Kindred?
No, don't, please, no.
No, that's not good? You don't think that's good? What do you mean? A professional team
may have
played that.
just sent one of our region's teams home playing that, in fact.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay, never mind.
The Trundle answer here is pretty interesting. It's not the first time we've seen Vi given over for the favor of the Trundle, even though Trundle's interaction with Vi and his subjugate isn't the highest value into Vi specifically. It can, if she ults in, isolate her.
Ah, yes. Yuumi is the perfect answer. It's harder for you to then get hit by the cease and desist. There we go. That is not what they're going to lock in, as actually going to be holding on to that mid lane pick. See what Knight is going to be playing, as the Rel will be locked in.
This is an interesting draft here. While I feel like both of these picks aren't necessarily as highly prioritized as G2 are putting them here, it puts a lot of questions into your mind as BLG as to what the game plan is going to be, and it makes the decisions you make a little bit tougher. Now, they're just going to go for the tier list. They're just going to say, all right, we're going Aurora Rumble. We have the Vi set up. Vi Rumble, so incredibly powerful. And then the Aurora is just going to be a lane bully into almost any matchup there in the mid lane. The answering Ornn, they already were prepared. They have the Trundle pick themselves. They can just lock this one in. It's considered a counter to the Rumble. But it doesn't mean you're going to get lane prio early.
No, and the two, like, best picks into the Rumble are actually banned away in the Galio and then the pick away of the Aurora. It's actually kind of cute. Of course, the Ornn has been pretty popular as an answer to the Rumble as well, like you mentioned. So good that G2 are at least able to lock that one away. But still, I feel like this was a well-orchestrated beginning of the draft here for BLG. An obvious game plan is in there, and that top side of the map is looking very, very frightening.
You can feel the weight of the blue side against you here in this, Dylan Falcon draft here, where they've got a lot of great tools and there's still a lot of flexibility here, but the tier list definitely leans towards BLG. That scale has tipped. The Braum ban can completely, if you don't ban the Braum, it can completely nullify your Ornn, so that one is kind of a must ban in this situation. Decent into the Rel as well. Victor is taken away. I think that's a great scaling mid lane pick that works well with the ornaments later on, so that makes a ton of sense.
You can kind of keep up with the range of the Aurora as well,
yeah.
Death Ray, so it does make some sense to
maybe
that one out.
A Rise ban to follow here. Yeah, that's what they're going to think and take that one away, because that's another one of those pick similar situation. Great wave clear. Can kind of buy some space into the Aurora, just out wave clear her early and just not interact with her in the side lane. So what's it going to be here? This is where things get really interesting. I feel like Misfortune works well with Rel, but I don't think this is the kind of draft where you want to be picking that one up. The Corki I like a lot more.
And it's a flex pick as well.
Absolutely.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it could go either in the mid lane or into Hansama's hands. I think it will probably be Hansama's pick in this scenario, but this is something that BLG can't know for certain.
Yep, and there's not a lot of magic damage just yet, so Cap's probably wanting to be on a caster champion, perhaps. As Oldia, oh no, it's the champion that everyone has hated throughout all of MSI.
Renata's up.
And the Kalista Renata will be locked in here for BLG.
It's so good into Trundle and pretty good into Rel as well. And you already have so much AP damage on the top side, and both the Rumble Ultimate and the Aurora Ultimate work so well with this low-range Kalista, plus the Vi lockdown. No way.
That's LeBlanc.
LeBlanc, long time no see on this pick. And man, I have to say it, I have to be honest, I feel like this LeBlanc pick doesn't fit the identity of this comp in really any way to me. You're strong into the Rumble, you're strong into the squishy Renata, if you can isolate her, maybe even if you find Vi in a scenario where if you're ahead, you can get into the jungle and harass her and push her away from some of her camps. I mean, the burst damage of the LeBlanc is real, and she will get somewhat empowered by the ornaments, but it's not the kind of scaling damage pick I thought that with this Ornn pick G2 were looking for. I thought we were going to see something with consistent damage. Sure, the Victor and the Victor and the Rise were banned away. Azir is banned as well by Fearless, so there weren't a ton of great options.
I do think that you have so much mobility that a lot of this ground location-based damage that is there for BLG is going to be less effective against Caps. I think it's a good idea in that front. Of course, you do still have a dash, so it's the coming back that's more blinky, right? So you go in, you start a fight, and then you can sort of get out of there without any sort of answer. That could certainly work here for Caps, and we know that this guy is just really, really good at LeBlanc. Has been in the past, at least.
LeBlanc is the type of pick, too, that could just completely take over a game, regardless of what your comp is. If you just get ahead enough with it, it doesn't matter what the enemy team is running. It doesn't matter what you're running. Yeah,
she's a magician, right? She's like, and this one disappears.
But to put it all on the line in this final Game 5, this red side counter pick of the LeBlanc was a bit of a shock to me. And it's a pick that has just fallen pretty significantly out of the meta for quite some time.
And she had the visual update, right? So it has the different icons. So, I was expecting that she'd sort of, come back into the meta because, we're going to play her because now she's changed a little bit. And just wasn't. Just wasn't a thing at all. At least, definitely not in the LCK, and haven't really seen her internationally either. So Cap's going to be bringing that one out here. That's why we love Fearless. You really do have to get a little bit deeper into these champion pools.
Yeah, I mean, the only other pick I was thinking about that maybe would have been strong with their comp, scales pretty well, has good wave clear, was the Hui, but again, not ideal, right? Not perfect in this. Not perfect in this scenario. There's a lot more agency, I think, in this LeBlanc, and Caps, man, he has to be the main character of this game. I think if G2 are going to close out the series.
I think he's pretty used to being the main character for G2, so I wouldn't put it past him. That one can certainly happen. As here we go. G2 onto the Rift once again. We are finally here as the keys loom over the Rift here now. One of them about to get crushed immediately after this game right here. As, yep, Knight and Caps facing off. Labrov and On also going to lock eyes here in the river. Not too much more going to happen.
Electrocute proc, the name of the game in this mid lane matchup. Labrov's going to get the crash down.
Yeah, crash down coming on through there. It's the logistics protocol actually picked up from On, so not able to shake anyone's hand right now as a electrocute does come on through from Caps.
Yeah, Caps is like, you electrocuted my support, but I electrocuted you. Haha, favorable trade in the mid lane, but
and walks over and takes a lot of damage.
Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe that wasn't quite what was going through his inner monologue at that moment.
Must have been close though.
Everyone's going to back and reset.
Yep. We need to talk about skin choices. Of course, it is not the baseball Trundle, so I'm kind of okay with it. I think that one's kind of illegal because it's so boring, but there's a lot of other really cool skins. Traditional Trundle, always okay because you still get the Pillar of Filth. This one, a little bit different, a little bit newer.
Speaking of Skumon, and we're talking about skins, but let's talk about the pathing here. It does have a lot of vision control set up with this deep ward here, and this is going to start the Raptor cap and look for a 3-buff start as the full wraparound to Han Sama and Labrov is here. Might be a bit of a hint to Bejuan as to what has gone down here with the pathing that they took. They will catch this wave here, but just playing around the Kalista, not interacting with her at level 1, and then allowing for this clear for Skumon.
This is kind of crazy as well. G2 actually able to pick up every single minion in the wave because VLG cleared it so fast. So not actually losing out on anything is, okay, passive already procced from Caps here in the mid lane. Knight continuing his good form, and we know that Aurora, if played aggressively in the mid game, in the mid lane, sorry, can really just stop you from being able to have a good time at all, ever.
Yeah, it's hard for Caps to proc electrocute till he hits level 2 one more time there, and the trade does hit it there. And we'll look for it. We're going to pan away, but we have a small pause here.
Okay. Flamethrowers being exchanged on the top side of the map. Of course, the Rumble feeling a little bit better about it. But that matchup, probably not one that we're going to be feeling too excited about.
The Ornn
to watch.
The Ornn will end up winning out later on, and it's just super powerful, hard to punish, hard to kill with the Rumble, but the Rumble in the early levels will have the pushing power. Just have the better wave clear, can just stand on top of the Ornn and burn him, so you have some prio there. But we'll give you guys an update about this pause as soon as we can, but based on a referee here, it looks like it is something on the BLG side of things.
Yep, Ben looked like he was dealing with something. We have no idea what that was. He was pointing at something on the screen, and hopefully that is going to get resolved pretty quickly. And as we can see here, looks like we are readying up to get this unpaused. So sepia mode really not lasting very long. This was a discussion that we heard yesterday, Wolf, when the other boys were on, as Dan and Jake were talking about Sepia. Is that what Dan said? Did he actually say Sepia?
I don't know.
Sepia mode?
Sometimes, you know, Ox, when he says things in his accent, I wish I could say them as cool as he does. Oh my God.
I think he actually said that one just wrong, though. That was my opinion. And I do want to say that Jake did get that one right. And yesterday was a day of not getting a lot of things right. So that one, that was right. So he absolutely
Bejuan, though, is coming up here. Broken Blade.
Okay. Well, the face melter might actually come on through here as Broken Blade going to get punished for his great performance. That flash
was
the right one. It absolutely was. He still has to use flash, right? His Knight is dead. What? Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to need to see a little bit of a replay.
That's why Ben paused. It's like, what the hell? That shouldn't have happened. Great knock-up here from Broken Blade as well as his army of minions comes on in. And the aggression continues here as Labrov's having to flash away from Elk and On here on this bottom lane. And Caps looking for a bit of an angle, and my God, that is so much damage. He actually decides to go back in, though.
That was the reason why Caps does this, is because he has TP advantage, so he wants to get as much damage done as possible before he just TPs back.
Oh, the flash out is On. Actually, he predicted the flash, but his handshake didn't go long enough.
Yeah.
He needs a longer arm.
Not quite able to make that one happen, but both flashes down here for the G2 bottom lane does not feel great. At least Han Sama is quirky and does have Valkyrie, but
I feel like sometimes in like the last game of a series, you know, in the deciding match, teams decide that they're not going to play as aggressively. You know, they're going to try and be careful, don't want to make those mistakes. That's not these teams. I mean, these teams just want to throw themselves at each other throughout this entire early game.
Caps has this really nice lead because They killed Knight for somehow mysteriously when Knight was on Raptors. I don't know. We'll get back to that later. But then Caps was able to trade with him and then TP back in here, so has a pretty significant health advantage. You can see how he's trading here, how aggressively he knows he's in control of this lane and the wave state that's there. Like, Knight is struggling to play the game, and Caps is just chilling. Skumon here is going to go, all right, well, with all this mid-prio and Knight, who's TP-less, who has to back now, I'm going to go over here and start putting the pressure on this Raptor camp, and I think On will be able to do very little to stop this. Bejuan over here is going to take a Gromp in return, I suppose, but maybe not.
Yeah, they know that he's here, and Broken Blade going to move on up as well. There's a lot of stuff here on the ground, and Bejuan, he flashed, but where are we flashing to?
This is such a weird start to this game, and it's not good for BLG. I'll tell you guys.
I would put it in the cons column, Wolf. I'm going to put that one in the cons column. Cap's going to be able to pick up that kill. He is on 300 health. At least Bejuan was able to do some damage back. But I am perplexed about how this game has started.
I think it's really just a snowball here that happens from the mysterious death, right, of Knight that occurred.
I like it. It's still a mystery.
Well, I mean, he was on Raptor. I guess he was trying to put some pressure on, then just got punished there by Skumon because Skumon was able to pick up the kill, right?
Yeah, maybe baited by Caps.
But right after that, Caps ends up getting the trade before he TPs, and he plays super greedy but gets away with it. Then they get the prio there. He gets the trade once again, so Skumon can do anything. So Bejuan feels like he has to cross map, and so he does, but then gets punished for it because it's pretty obvious to G2 what's going on. And once they spot him there, there's just no way for the Vi to get away. So if you look at the gold leads here, I mean, Caps picks up the second kill there onto Bejuan, so he has a pretty significant lead himself, but the lead for Skumon is massive because he took so much of the jungle away, denied the cross map from Bejuan, so he's 20 CS up right now. It's like 5 whole camps up, and he is just huge on this Trundle, and this Vi is so significantly behind. So G2 loving the start so far.
They really are. I want to give a shout out to Skumon as well. Game 1 wasn't his best performance, but then he gets onto the incredibly comfortable Maokai, the European special in the tree, and has now continued that momentum forward onto this early game play with the Trundle. Here's a crash down as Bejuan, great angle, handshake is going to be there to put Labrov down, but unfortunately the bailout doesn't happen early enough, so they're unable to benefit from that kill. Elk still bouncing around the fight.
Caps is
not able
coming
to
up.
find any sort of reset here as Caps is walking his way forward. Skumon and Hans still in position.
I think this ends up being a relatively even trade. The kill for the Callista feels better than a second kill on the Trundle, but the fact that the Trundle is this big means that it's kind of okay at this point. A relatively even trade. They do respect the fact that Caps was missing. Knight communicates that to them, and they do back away as we have a bit of a fight here in the river.
Yeah, Knight coming on through. Oh, that pillar placement was absolutely gorgeous. Skumon still wanting to try and mess with this one, though. Does have the subjugate available, but it is Caps that's the target. He is just going to back away to clear out this mid lane, and I just feel like this game is always just a little inch away from a full-on brawl at all times.
Absolutely. We're constantly walking the tightrope, but with the prio that G2 have, Skumon just keeps taking the Raptors rinse and repeat, and there's just not much that Bejuan can do about it. He doesn't have level 6. He's a whole level behind this Trundle, who has ultimate, and this should just be the Dragon over to G2. They don't end up securing the Raptors away, but Bejuan's finally able to farm his camp. He's like, thank God.
Yeah.
But look at his player cam there. He's not super happy, and perhaps
maybe it was
related
because
to the
something
pause.
was going wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. We're going to check out some replays, though. We've got a lot of them. I actually kind of like the fact that there's a pause. Often don't do this time because it means we can check out some of these plays, and maybe we'll see this Knight mystery, as we do see the feats of warfare going on over, and it was a decent handshake to start things off. The bailout just not quite able to get the value.
Yeah, not timed well enough there. It was a kill for Callista versus a kill for the Trundle there. Target selection a little bit split for G2, but they end up getting the kill anyways there and deny the bailout value. Right now, it feels like this low econ Vi and the Aurora that's been put significantly behind are not going to operate the way that BLG wanted them to. BLG by no means aren't able to, it's not like they're in a situation where they can't fight for objectives right now. They're not that far behind, but fighting for prio is so difficult that they are always going to be behind in the vision game when they're trying to set up for these big fights, which gives such an inherent advantage to LeBlanc. The number one thing that LeBlanc wants, besides money, obviously, and items, is vision control. And when you don't know where the LeBlanc is and she can pop out and kill your support or catch you, especially when you're running a squishy support like the Renata, Caps is feeling really good about what this mid game is going to look like because they have so much map control. It's going to take a big swing in a team fight here and some injection of gold into these big carries here for the side of BLG for them to get back into this game. They're down, they're not out, but G2 really building a significant jungle lead in this game off of just a little bit of prio, and a lot of this on this Caps pick. He's getting value out of LeBlanc already.
He certainly is. And we were talking already about the fact that the Vi is such an incredibly important pick throughout this tournament, throughout this patch, just in general. And it's really been shut down in a massive way by a Skewmon that was being criticized quite heavily. I just want to say, like, really, really impressed on the way that he's performed towards the end of this series.
It's been a big redemption arc for him. I feel like this tournament has been a big redemption arc for Lebrov as well.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And, you know, G2 always able to keep themselves mentally focused in the face of hardship. Remember that game 1 loss was pretty tragic. You know, you mentioned Skewmon. They messed up the timing with the feather pullback and the smite, and what felt like an unlosable situation just turned on its head and it fell apart. Because we could have been looking at a 2-0 here for G2 and things gone just a little bit differently, right? But they
exactly.
still...
It could have been a cringe 7-gamer, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it would have been so sad and frustrating.
But they still keep their mental fortitude. They still are able to stay focused, and we'll see if BLG could do the same, because right now they need to.
Yep. Well, Lebrov and Hansama down here towards the bottom side, now laning against Bin as the lane swap has occurred.
Yeah, we haven't
Blade taking a bit of damage towards the top side of the map as the equalizer is going to be employed just to grab some tempo back.
We haven't really
get on these grubs.
touched on the fact that this Ornn, who's laning into a Callista with 2 null magic mantles,
oh no,
is really behind. And we can talk often about how Ornn doesn't need gold that much because he's going to get value with the ornaments later. He's a low econ champion that could do a lot with his ultimate in team fights, even if he doesn't have items. But being this far behind starts to raise your eyebrows because it also just gives such a free lane setup here to Elk, who's just going to be pushing into him constantly. He has a lead he already picked up because of that kill that happened in that top side skirmish.
Wolf, here, I just want to, I need to admit something.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure. I mean, get it all out.
Yeah, I really need to. So we've got a bigger TV here that we're casting off. So I feel like things are in a lot higher definition.
Sure.
That I'm watching in comparison to maybe the cast monitors that we have back at home. Never really has been an issue, but I have just realized that Null Magic Mantle isn't a dress. I always kind of thought it was the kill. As now Elk could be in trouble. Ram is just going to crash into him. And yeah, no, it's like a little cape.
Yeah.
And why are they both capes? You got a Negatron cloak and an Elmet. Why there's 2 capes?
Well,
why
I mean,
are capes so
a
magic
mantle
resistant?
becomes a cloak. He's very resistant to that's.
I thought a mantle was the thing that goes above your fireplace, so I didn't think that the word had anything to do with what it was.
Atlas. If you're like, oh no, wizard's coming to get me, do you grab your chainmail? No, you grab your cloak. Okay, you grab your mantle.
Oh, that is such a good point.
You're not like, oh, better grab my helm.
And perhaps, you know, I just haven't thought about it very often, but it is just in the shape of a kilt or a dress, you know, and like,
it's
anyway,
not.
I needed to get that off my chest. I know, like, you won't tell anyone, right?
No, I won't, but you just did. But it's okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I only told you, so I'm sure no one's going to.
Our very private conversation right now.
Yeah. No one will know. No one will know. It's okay. Lebrov now moving towards this bottom side of the map, and as you can see, he is in the enemy side jungle, right? Like G2 are playing really far up, making sure that they keep on as much pressure as possible. And with that feat of warfare that they already have picked up, it's only a couple of objectives or a turret away from feats of strength. And G2 will have a big amount of control. As speaking of control, Bin really pulling this one back on the top side of the map.
Yeah, you know, it's going to get a little bit tougher once that Leandries is done too, to deal with this Rumble in the game state where you just don't have a lot of farm, you don't have a lot of items just yet. The Rumble's still bootsless as well, mind you, as he is just going to TP right back in. And I got to say, the lead that we saw for the Trundle in terms of gold, you know, it's one of those things where it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't fight and if the Vi isn't going to be necessarily relevant, but the prio they've gotten from it and how much vision control they've had. I mean, look at the bottom side of the map. Anytime Bejuan wants to move around that area, they know exactly where he is, and if he isn't showing, they know he's topside, because they can see everything that is on the bottom side of the map right now.
The process of elimination, it is very powerful.
Like the 1 level lead, the full level lead, you know, has now decreased to like a half level lead or a 3rd level lead here for Skewmon, but They're just utilizing that prio and that vision so well right now to continue to control the map. The Drake spawns in 70 seconds here, and that is going to be a really pivotal moment.
Well, that was almost a worry.
That was a little scary.
Yeah, some of the mobility is going to be available there as the chain is not going to get the snare, as you can see Caps bouncing back. Did employ the ultimate, but that, of course, is one of the lowest cooldown ultimates in the game.
Knight
so that is
still low.
Yeah, exactly right. Lebrov making his way in, and oh, the crash down Magnet Storm. Not going to allow him to bounce through that circle at all. And Knight is just destroyed.
Yeah, just not able to quickly flash his way out of that one, unfortunately. Good combo there. The Trundle that's so huge that has, you know, the second completed item here for the side of G2 next to the companion that Caps has picked up is just so big.
Yeah.
The Trundle's just going to chomp that Aurora out of the game, and now Caps has full control of mid, and they could just turn this into a dragon take, but they're going to get plates first. 20 seconds until that Infernal spawns.
Oh my goodness, well, there's the equalizer down. Flash out from Skumont immediately to make sure that he isn't burnt to a crisp. And with the chains, that is going to deny any follow-up here as On moving in. The dragon is going to spawn, like you were talking about, Caps. Looking for that low health bar on Beishuan, the flash forward, and Caps picks up the kill, gets himself all the way back, and actually just takes them on a merry jaunt around the rift, and is going to be absolutely fine. The hostile takeover not doing too much here, but Skumont will get shut down by Bin, who has a big flamethrower and doesn't really like all the funny business that's been going on.
They're looking for the kill on the Caps here.
Yeah, there is Knight flashing forward, manages to take down Caps here, and BLG will be able to answer very, very nicely. Maybe a slight overstep as Elk looking to try and take down Lebrov. Doesn't necessarily have a massive amount of damage.
Broken Blade didn't have TP, but is getting a lot of push in that top lane all the while, so at least they get that on the cross map here. A few plates picked up for the Ornn. But so much was used there by Caps and G2 to secure that kill on the Bejuan that they couldn't really continue to contest for the prio on the Dragon. I think G2 tried to do too much there. Could have been happy with a small win, wanted the bigger one, and ultimately do end up getting punished, have to reset. And that means that BLG, despite that initial pick for G2, will get this Dragon and tie things up here. The gold lead for G2 has shrunk significantly. It's really just 300 now, the advantage they hold.
Yep, it is barely anything, and it's going to be a Chemtech Soul here as well. One Dragon apiece between both of these teams. We're going to check out this fight once again. This very extended fight, as we can see.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really cool moment here where they outplay. Bejuan ends up taking so much damage here from Caps, and then they decide, okay, we're going to force the issue even further. Caps comes in here, ults for the extra W, and then watch this, gets the kill, flashes back to his initial, tricks them there.
So cool.
Very clean play.
Like it. That's when distort, and then you mimic the distort, and then you go back to the after the W.
But what happens next is, because he used all of his tools here, Skumont is left out to dry as G2 at the same time were trying to hold Dragon. And then Caps can't survive either as the Rumble shows up here in the bottom lane. No TP for the Ornn means it was a great win. It was a big win. It was cool. It was a kill. It was a big LeBlanc moment. But the bigger picture here is BLG take the objective and take a kill back.
They do. Now Bin is in a bit of trouble. Does throw down the equalizer to try and get some damage onto Skumont. But this time he has all of his buttons available. And in fact, even invests the subjugate against Bin. Really didn't want to die and didn't want Bin to get away. That is going to be successful as now Lebrov and Skumont looking to wrap around once again as Beishuan is here towards his top side. The Mega Cone going to bring them in. There's the Magnet Storm, but Beishuan able to get himself out of the way because the focus is on this turret. That is going to be feats of strength going over to G2, but can they keep themselves alive as the rest of the BLG cavalry turns up? The Fate's Call was optimistic at best, and they do manage to take down the Trundle.
Yeah, he sacrifices himself to get out there. They end up getting a kill in the turret, though. On top of the kill they already picked up onto Bin, so it's still a big trade up here for G2. You can see their gold lead now as extended again. So they dropped down to 300 and then quintuple that back up to 1,500 for the play. And a gold lead actually accumulates here for Broken Blade. Has just been given so much additional time.
Yeah,
in the side lane, kept it even.
His Canic Rockon was just completed, but now has another Negatron Cloak. That one I know is a cape. I didn't think it was a jellyfish ever. Like, not one time, I promise. But he's going to be building into that item number 2 pretty quickly.
Herald will go over here to the side of BLG. We'll see how they utilize it, but we'll go back to this play here. So when you look at the map, you can see that unfortunately the Renata is just too far away here to make an impact. And then they kind of do this interesting thing where they back away and then say, well, Bejuan, you can take the farm. But that's a Vi, though, and I think this call is a little bit suspect just simply because alone, if it's just a Vi and the rest of the team has vision, they could just collapse on her and kill her, and they get the turret as well.
All right, well, an equalizer goes down as Caps was trying to keep that chain in position. That was gorgeous, though, as Broken Blade comes in and says, thank you very much for all that work you've done, Caps. You can get out of here now. And the G2 fans feeling pretty happy about how this game has headed over the last little while as On going to get stunned up. There's a Magnet Storm once again as he flashes to get himself out of the way. And Beishwan was thinking about going in, but decides instead that Vault Breaker needs to be used as an escape.
They're losing in mid. They're going to lose this bottom turret to a split-pushing Ornn.
Oh, very dangerous.
I mean, the Ornn lead is starting to become very real. Like, he's cresting nearly 1,000 gold the advantage over his lane opposition here in the Rumble, and Ben has been focused. He's been targeted. And, I mean, this is just a huge problem here. Look at the gold lead. Yeah, there was that big dent after the disaster that happened bottom lane for G2, but they just bounced back and continue to put that pressure on. This wild card pick of the LeBlanc, we didn't doubt it because we know it's Caps. We know what he's capable of, but we didn't think it necessarily with this composition and team fights it was going to work out. But with the early game control, how well he played around Skewmon, how strong the counter jungle was, the trapping of Knight, right? That snowball with the teleport takeaway, the kill they get there. It's just been kind of this domino effect that's given G2 full map control from start to finish in this game. Now they're going to take even this mid turret down that they dented earlier. And I mean, the gold lead just gets bigger and bigger. Looks like it might not quite go down just yet.
Yeah, Valkyrie going to come on through here as the Fate's Call is going to be the attempt. But now Lebrov in perfect position. They managed to get this this pillar down as well in a great spot. As Elk not going to need the bailout because he just pulls all the sticks from this troll and takes him down. Han Summer also going to be executed by Knight, who finds him off to the side, and in the blink of an eye, BLG will take control. They'll look to take down this outer turret, and they get themselves right back to gold parity, or at least
+1 charge.
Definitely close.
Yeah, +1 charge goes through, and they're actually just looking to take this inner out straight up, and they will get it. A big turnaround there. And we've seen LPL Kallistas do big work across the years, and Elk is, man, 3-0-3 now on this Kallista. Did so much damage there, forced the flash out, so the Rend couldn't connect, but he just changes targets and takes out Skewmon. And I mean, at this point, BLG should just be able to get this dragon straight up for free. Yep. There's nothing that Broken Blade can do about it at this moment in time. And the rest of the team is still licking their wounds from that double turret take. And like you said, back to gold parity here. A Drake lead now in the hands of BLG.
Well, G2 looking for another skirmish. We are going to check out this fight a little bit beforehand. This is like, he is so incredibly confident as they commit everything. They're like, no, he's overextended. We will kill.
The Berserk comes through here. They can't get a kill, but Lebrov goes super low, has to flash away to get out of Rend range, and then Elk is just super confident. He's like, well, I just pivot over to the bundle. Barrier comes out. And as long as that health doesn't hit 0, he does not care. He's got a Renata with him, you know? Like, it wasn't even close. He wasn't worried for even a second. He's just like, I'm going to maximize my DPS. I got my support here. And it doesn't matter if my first target gets away. I just go for the next one that's in range.
Yep, exactly right. I do respect it from Skewmon, as of course, you know, you do want to try and at least get something back in those moments, but it doesn't quite work out as Otacon has already been started. Skewmon is just smacking it. And now they're going to look for the turn. The Ram coming on through here as the knockoff is only going to be used onto Bin because they didn't need it for the top side of the fight. The equalizer goes down, but Bin not quite getting the value that he's looking for. And G2 drawing first blood in the fight, now looking for another one. The 3-man on that Magnet Storm is beautiful, and down goes Beishwan. This is not his game today. BLG having to deal with the fact that both of their utility picks are dead.
G2 are able to identify they have this pocket of vision on Otacon, can start it up, and because they have the Ornn who can engage from so far away and the follow-up is real, they can just say, we start Otacon, if you come anywhere towards us, you're doomed. You're going to lose the fight. And to say that BLG had a setup or an answer there would be too kind, because they really just looked a little bit panicked and out of sorts as the Aurora teleport comes in so incredibly late from Knight, and he ultimately just has to flash out. And this is a huge win here, is look at how little control goes over to the side of BLG here. Like, LeBlanc is flanking, Caps gets the initial kill here on the Renata off of the start, and then they're just so split up. Like, yes, the Aurora is going to show up here to try to bail out this fight, but it's just too late, can't actually get in. And then they look for the turn here with the Magnet Storm, and it's just a flash from Knight out. Vi goes down, and it's a huge win, not only in kills, but also, as you mentioned, the Otacon going over 27 petals to 12. the numbers here and experience are starting to stack up, which is so valuable for an Ornn who wants to get those ornaments as quickly as possible.
Yep, Spirit Visage is now completed here for Skumond as well. Such an important
That's not a
item
dress,
for
by
the
the way.
Trundle. Yeah, that one isn't. I know that one is actually just a shirt, right? Like kind of a shirt.
That's the one armor, the glowing armor. You're like, okay, a wizard's coming for me. I get the glowing armor.
And Force of Nature was like that as well. Force of Nature, I understood. Kanik Rookern, is that one of the Gotcha Claws?
Scientists are still trying to figure out what a Rookern is.
I think it's a Gotcha Claw. I think that's what it is, as we can see. Like, you can see it there. Like, now that it's off cooldown, it's a Gotcha Claw. I think that can be confirmed. That one I'm not silly about.
I thought it was a utility belt, but I don't know.
And Triforce is obviously a misbuilt fan. As G2 do get the knock up here onto On, but he does have the hostile takeover. That's used only onto Broken Blade, though, who is looking borderline immortal at this point in time.
I mean,
Bin
get the TP.
getting in there with the teleport. You're exactly right. Equalizer and a choke point is normally good, but Caps goes in, gets a distortion over everyone, and look at them. They're all grouped up, and G2 turning their own situation against them as the Magnastorm only onto one isn't necessarily what they want, but it's Elk who has to use a fair bit to try and get himself out of there. All of the health bars on the Rift are so extraordinarily low.
And they were so close to having an incredible bailout moment there. I mean, he had the flash. I thought for sure he goes in and looks for the reset there, but they are too timid to do it.
How did
the
no one
fight
die?
is so split up. And the Ornhorn there cuts BLG in half, even though it doesn't secure a kill. Caps goes in. You don't think about LeBlanc's distortion as a big AoE damage ability, but in moments like this when everyone's so packed up in that tight ball in a choke point, actually ends up doing a big amount of work there. It was a very close call there for G2, though. With those low health bars and Elk running amok, that could have actually gone disastrously and given BLG back the lead. They are just narrowly able to escape. However, still a significant lead here for Elk, 1,300 on this Callista pick. That's going to have a little bit of longevity in this game, but man, G2 just will not give away map control. They have all this pressure every single time there's a neutral objective setting up. They're like, all right, we're gonna get vision around it. We're gonna push them away. We're gonna take those jungle camps. Cap's gonna take a back timing here. As his death cap picks up, the arm guard can TP in if he needs to, but I think he's got just enough time to walk over with 10 seconds to spare. And this may be the last stand here for BLG if they get wiped on this fight, which is, by the way, just for a second Chemtech Drake here for G2. They should not overextend into this.
Yep, the Manazane actually completed here as well for Hans Sommer, just in the nick of time as On is taken so low. Fate's Call going to be used, though, and we'll see whether BLG can get the turnaround as they do decide to throw him in on top of Broken Blade, and the bailout does absolutely nothing. The Ornhorn, BB's a god today, and down they all go. G2 are looking at semifinals.
I mean, it looks like they really are. And I said, you know, it's just a second Drake here for G2. It's just a Chemtech Dragon. You could probably just say, well, we don't have Prio. Let's look for something else. But they commit anyways. The Fate's Call has to be used so early in the fight. Never a hostile takeover. The combo with Broken Blade and LeBrob, the Magnet Storm and the Call of the Forge God just rips BLG a new one. The timing of this so good for G2. They grab this Drake for free and now can reset. Topside Prio goes back to Caps, who, like I mentioned before, didn't have to TP. They can now put their eyes towards this Baron because Broken Blade also has TP. They can clear that vision. Coming in here with the control vision as a support, like, you're playing Renata here on. I just can't agree with this decision. Doesn't end up using the ultimate here and is just burst down, which means he has to Fate's Call.
But why BB? Why was he the target? That's my big bit of doubt is LeBron's setup and then the knockdown here. Just beautiful.
Well, I think it was one of those moments where you're like, I have to Fate's Call for safety, but I got to turn that into a positive somehow. But Hans Sama was so far away, he also had his Valkyrie available. Like, you're not going to get him. You're not going to get Caps on the LeBlanc. So
Dylan Falco actually reacted to that one that time as down goes Beishuan yet again as we hop out of the replay. And G2 going from good to good. And that's the jungler, guys. Baron is now up and available, and G2, they can head over there. Maybe not wanting to go for any sort of 50-50s. I know you say it's not a 50-50 because the jungle is dead, but Knight's alive. And we all remember game one. Still, they're just going to make sure that BLG cannot get anywhere near this pit. And things are very, very dark on the Rift right now as Caps gets off towards the side. Knight is discovered by the LeBlanc as the On is going to get so much CC down. Bin is just melting as Caps goes golden, flashes out of the way of the buttons that Knight is trying to put down, and another array of skills comes in. Beautifully played in the mid-off, as we just saw as Caps gets the solo kill on the right-hand side of the team fight.
Yeah, golden hourglass for the golden hand. He takes him out in that side fight. And Caps just putting Knight down. This is Knight we're talking about. One of the best mids ever to play in the LPL.
The best today.
And he was the best performing player here for BLG, but Caps, man, the king of EU G2's franchise player, says, I am better today in this final game, in this wild card pick of the LeBlanc, because we have a fight for the Baron.
This is getting a little bit messy now as the cease and desist comes in. Beishuan is going to take the exit and now going to look to go back as Cap says, no, Elk, you're not allowed to play the game. It's okay, just a rocket from downtown as Hans Sama did see him go into that brush on the control ward, and they take down the Baron. G2 going to follow Bin to his base, I think, and look to try and take down at least an inhibitor turret. Phenomenal pillages there as we saw as G2 looking to just clean up the scraps.
I mean, these are some really long death timers. They can get some serious base damage done here.
They really can. On going to flash out of the way of the Ornhorn, but I don't think that's going to save him. The handshake is going to be top of the morning to your Caps as then he goes down. Knight also not going to get bailed out of this one. And G2 really come alive here in these last two games.
It's a
the
big
reverse
wave.
sweep, or at least the mini one.
Yeah.
In this best of three as they will break the base.
It's a big wave. Elk is going to be the first to respawn here, but he alone is not going to be able to defend this push. I mean, I think it's going to be really hard. No Rumble. Equalizer up in 15. They're going to make a play for it.
Yep, and they have no money either. It has ballooned to a 10,000 gold lead with the Baron available as well. These minions so difficult to get through. And Elk, he can do nothing. Look at BB's face, man. There are just grins from ear to ear on G2. And they will be able to take down BLG after being swept at MSI. These three games went a whole lot differently. And now they get the pleasure of obliterating the key and sending BLG home.
Vengeance is sweet for G2. And it all just came together with this early game. The dominance of Caps in the lane. The aggressive, greedy trade when his enemy teleport is down. He takes the risk because he knows he can snowball that. It means that Skewmon can get so much done. A big bounce back for the team that struggled to secure those objectives in Game 1. They were so close to securing. They crushed Game 2, and arguably an even more one-sided Game 3 to move to knockouts and change the narrative here for 2025. And G2 looking good. And who says the hope of Europe is dead? Not in this tournament. LEC looking strong.
Yeah, it's definitely looking pretty good as MKOI still yet to play. Is thankfully Fancy is alongside with BB because I think that he is MVP of the day. This guy on the Jax, absolutely outstanding, and then backs that up with that kind of on performance. My God, is Key going to get absolutely obliterated, much like he did to Bin today. So Fancy, take it away.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. G2 have finally done it. They were able to break BLG's curse after 2 years of losing. Oh my God, BB, there's so much to talk about. Let me start first with Game 2. You had a statement performance. Walk us through what happened.
You know, after this MSI performance, I had to prove myself, and I had a great chance here at EWC, so I took it, you know, I wanted to redeem myself.
Absolutely, you did. That happened for sure, but I do want to ask, coming into this tournament, everyone was looking at LCK and LPL teams, and everyone was underestimating EU. What do you like to say to them right now?
I mean, we're still the underdogs coming from MSI, you know, but we have to be respected, of course, right? We just beat LPL. I'm very excited for what's to come, but we have to stay humble for now, you know, and take it as it is, you know.
Absolutely. Well, you are 2 steps away from claiming this trophy and winning an international event. Do you think that this is the G2 version that can win the whole thing?
Yeah, 100%. We all believe it. You know, we ride with the wave. I think we found a very good recipe on winning the games, you know. So I'm looking forward to playing against, I believe it's going to be AL. I'm not 100% sure. But any team that we will be facing is going to be strong now. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Well, the good thing about Esports World Cup is that when you win an elimination match, you get to crush your opponent's key. Just tell me how you feel right now.
It's going to be my first time, so I'm looking forward for it.
All right.
Am I doing it?
Yeah, absolutely you're doing it. Let's go to the Key Crush machine and just let you know that you have just guaranteed a $160,000 in the bag. So I'll just let you have this moment for yourself.
And the G2 faithful have been rewarded. It has been multiple years of losing, coming close, whether it was a best of 3, a best of 5. BLG got the best of G2, but not today. It was the reverse sweep, a 2-1 victory for G2 to the joy, pure joy to everyone inside the STC arena wearing the G2 colors. And it has to feel good. We had the chance to sit down with Broken Blade in the studio earlier, and it was his goal to defeat an LPL squad. Standing right now with one of the members from the LPL squad is Kitty. Take it away.
G2 finally find their revenge at an international stage. By my side, BLG Elk. So I know that you guys have had a very long rivalry for 2 years now. Unfortunately, you guys fell short. So what went wrong today?
我知道你们和 G2 其实是有非常长的一段交手的时间的，然后今天很可惜输掉了比赛。你觉得是什么出了问题呢？
就是以比赛内容来说的话，就是我们打得没有对面好吧。
I just think that we don't play that well comparing to G2.
And I do want to talk about the Game 3 draft. So we saw that you guys decided to go with the Kalista Renata, and ever since the start of MSI till now, the second international that we've seen in the past few months, Kalista Renata has had a lot of controversy around this bot lane duo. So why did you decide to go with this champion duo?
我们想聊一下第3场的这个 BP 选择。我们注意到你选择了卡莉斯塔和列娜塔这个组合。从 MSI 开始的时候，其实这个组合就饱受争议，然后一直很难拿下一个胜局吧。然后你在这个 BP 上面是怎么想的呢？
首先我觉得我们整体阵容在4、5楼能够选出卡列，然后就是以两边阵容来说，卡列肯定是当时的最优解吧。然后胜率的话，其实我倒觉得就还好嘛。然后，但是因为我们在第3局的比赛内容其实就是比较差吧，所以说导致输掉游戏。
I do think that the composition of Kalista and Renata doesn't really matter during this match, and I do think that it's a good pick when we were choosing the meta for this particular match. I just don't think that we performed that well during the game itself.
The Kalista curse continues, and there are a lot of BLG fans here at the arena. So do you have anything to say to the fans as you exit EWC?
就是可能比较可惜，但是其实现场有非常多的 BLG 粉丝，你有没有想跟他们说的？
就是，我觉得比较可惜吧，因为我们以这样的一场比赛，然后输掉这一次就 EWC 之旅，我觉得很可惜吧。然后就希望我们在夏季赛的时候，就第3赛段的时候能够就是打得更好吧。然后也非常感谢就是现场来支持我们的粉丝，谢谢你们。
I do want to say thank you to all my fans. Of course, it's a bit sad to actually lose and stop right here at this EWC. I just want to thank again to all of my fans, and we'll do better.
Thank you so much, Elk. I'm looking forward to see you back in the LPL, and back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Kitty and Cheryl, for the translation. Elk, again, the goals for BLG were getting back to the mountaintop like they did in the World Finals in 2024. They fall short, though, after a resurgent G2 finds some answers. And like Kitty said, the curse of Kalista continues. I know that, Midas, you've had strong opinions on the bot lane here for BLG. And just like in this clip here, just not able to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was not On's day. Here, it looked like he got caught, and then, you know, Kalista has been that controversial pick. Not only having a low win rate, having no win rate, has not won a single game from MSI till now, especially with the Renata pairing. And it looked like, you know, okay, my support is a little prone to getting caught. I'll play Kalista to pull him out. And that didn't last long. He went right back in. His ult wasn't even up. So kind of rough for BLG, not gonna lie.
Yeah, strong emphasis there on the gameplay, not necessarily the draft by Elk. BLG will head back on over to the LPL in the upper group and try to make their way back onto Worlds, their next opportunity for international play. But here they finish in the quarterfinals, the 8-5 slot. And for G2 and Finn, all right, one more time. We gotta get the zoom here on a satisfied Vin. We saw a sad Finn, but now we got to see, yeah, that Finn. Yeah. Clip it.
We're back, baby. We're back. I never doubted them.
2 years of losing, and they're back.
Yeah. I mean, we have been getting beaten brutally by Bin and BLG for so much time now. For so long, they just keep getting our number in internationals, but now G2 finally beating them must feel so good, must feel so great just to take down this arch nemesis that always knocks them down whenever they go travel to try to win some trophies.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at some of the highlights here as we wrap up this series in the day. And it starts off with Cap showing off the LeBlanc. When it came out, everyone's like, LeBlanc, is that really where it goes? But his mastery of it is in full prowess here.
Yeah, this play was sick. I mean, Vi gets away with low HP. Caps goes back in, flashes to get the kill on him, and then reacting to use his mimic distortion to get away from the rumble flash was just crazy. It shows how much mastery he must have on this champion, because LeBlanc is definitely not something he's playing very often. It's not a champion that we've seen really anyone playing, but he's still got that muscle memory, still has all of his skills on it, so it was cool to see him pull it out.
And what I like too, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he play the Syndra earlier in the group stages? Again, unorthodox champions that we know can dish out damage, but haven't been played as much if it's not in the right spot here.
I like it. I think these are like some EU classics. We have the Syndra. I mean, okay, EU classic going back to Bjergsen is maybe a little bit too strong, but like, I know there's a lot of people in Europe playing Syndra, and the LeBlanc has been a staple around the EU mids. The Perks and Caps, the two classic wielders of that champion. And it's just something that is so comfortable for these players, and they know how to execute, especially in these fearless drafts, in these game 3s, game 4s, game 5s. That is when you see these champions come out, and I think it's so nice that we finally can show that little European flag that is just, we have our picks and we use them to such great extent.
It was great to see a return to form for G2 this tournament. This is kind of the G2 that I feel like a lot of people expect when you go international, the G2 who can match with these Eastern teams and even take down BLG now, something they haven't been able to do. So it's cool seeing them on their signature picks. And I think Scuman and Broken Blade, to me, deserve a lot of praise for this series, because although all of G2 played well, I think that BB and Scuman both stepped up a lot, because they didn't have the greatest MSI showing. They received a lot of criticism, and they didn't let it get them down. They kept their confidence. They leveled up a lot, and I think they played great today.
Yeah, the way that they were taking the gold leads, the highlight that we did for game number 2, where they forced a fight to distract BLG while Caps was split pushing on the top side of the map, the influx of 1,500 gold. This is the G2 that we miss. It's not just being able to fight with the hands, but outplaying the team and being one of the few organizations in the West to be able to do so.
And that is one of Caps' main trademarks in Europe. If you watch any European G2 games, and it looks like G2 is like having a slow game, suddenly Caps will disappear to side lane for like 7 minutes. And then he will come back with like one more item over the enemy mid laner, and everyone's like, how does he do it? How does he keep doing it? And it's something that he's struggled to convert into the international stage lately. But to see him execute this against such a strong team that is BLG, gives me so much confidence of his return to form.
Well, with that victory, we now have two of the seeds set for the semifinals. G2 will await the winner of Gen G versus FlyQuest after FlyQuest defeated Furia earlier in the day. On the opposite side, it was AGAL over Hanwha Life Esports to get the LPL representative in the lower side of the bracket up against T1 or Movistar Koi after Movistar were able to get the victory later on. And with those victories, that means those keys got crushed. It was CFO's key saying goodbye and popped off right there. Or is it there? There, somewhere, one of those two. Masu getting to do it as well, putting their opponent's Furia to the sword and seeing the hopes of the Brazilian squad get crushed. A little bit of revenge for the LTA North.
Yeah, what a satisfying way to beat someone. You know, you win in the game and then you get to crush their logo. Oh man, that looks fun.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan's ice cold face and the little chuckle there when he sees it snap. And I mean, it's been a good day for European fans, I have to say. Seeing MKOI topple their nemesis of the Flying Oysters and seeing G2 topple their own with the BLG, it's like, it's an upward trend. And I really hope we can snowball this into some momentum and going into this tournament's finishing touches.
Yeah, after the best of ones, it felt like an older order was put back into place. It was 2 European teams making it on in, 1 North American team making it on in. But then after that, I think AGAL, we weren't sure what to expect because we hadn't seen them. It was Hanwha Life taking one of the games. You're like, okay, all the momentum's with Hanwha Life. But then one man stood in front of the way of Hanwha Life and dragged them across the finish line. It was our Sony MVP of the day. Flandre in the top lane had himself a heck of a series and a heck of a day.
Like we mentioned earlier during their series, Flandre just absolutely outperformed Zeus, which is probably a surprise to most people. Flandre is someone who's kind of, I would say he's known for being more of like the team fighter, not a super lane dominant player. He's got his Yorick, you know, he'll play Rumble, Renekton, but today he whipped out the tanks and just had so much presence in the game, was able to take over team fights and yeah, just lead his team to victory.
Maybe it's kind of indicative of the meta because we have 2 of the best undisputed top laners in the world in both Zeus and Bin out, and 2 guys that are great in their own right but generally play more for the team in terms of Flandre and Broken Blade in and winning in the semifinals here.
Yeah, and I think it just shows, I mean, to me, I'm just so impressed with Flandre and his class. He has been playing since 2014-15 competitively, and he still has such good form. When people think of the old players, they think of Faker, they think of the other like veterans that has been there for so long, but Flandre often goes unnoticed, and the fact that he's still out there performing so well, it's just so commendable.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at tomorrow's schedule. After we finished another big day, we now settle into just best of 3s, and it is the other half of the quarterfinals. It all kicks off with the reigning title winners, the reigning League of Legends World Champions, T1, up against the reigning champions of Europe in Movistar Koi. Then it is FlyQuest, the LTA North representative, up against Gen G. It is a big day of matches. When you look at that, what jumps out at you here, Medios?
Well, it's FlyQuest playing to get another match against Gen G, which this is going to be the 3rd time they've played them, and they managed to take games each time, so I think it's doable. Definitely a very hard opponent, probably the hardest, but I think they can do it.
It's a tough series for both of these teams. These are the 2 MSI finalists and the reigning best 2 teams in the world right now. So what a privilege to have a chance to try to take them down right when they're sitting at the top. I think it's a great chance for both MKOI, great chance for FlyQuest as well, to really show that they have so much more they can offer to the international events.
Yeah, huge matches for the West. And again, the debut for both Gen G and T1 tomorrow. But for tonight, we'll dream just a little bit with the G2 victory, getting it done over one of their big nemesis. Now, that does it here from us at the Esports World Cup. On behalf of everyone working the broadcast, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more quarterfinals action.